Hi Martin.
Hi Roland. Hi out there at the screens.
You know what we are going to talk about today?
I know, and I'm so excited. We will talk about the icing on the CODESYS cake.
You're right, Martin. As you may know, we already have a tool for centralized version and revision control, CODESYS SVN.
Yeah, CODESYS SVN has been part of our product range for quite some time. But this video is about a functionality that has been on the wish list of many of you folks for quite a long time. Git for CODESYS, or as we call it, CODESYS Git.
CODESYS Git makes the CODESYS Development System a native Git client that can communicate with local and remote Git repositories. All you need in order to work with Git is seamlessly integrated, and no separate or additional Git installation is necessary.
Sounds great, but before we take a deep dive, let's have a closer look at Git and establish why it is currently the most popular version control system. Roland, what would you say? Why should I use a version control system in the first place?
Well, if you're working on a project all alone, you can, of course, perfectly do it without. But as soon as several people get involved, or if you change your project again and again over a longer period of time, a version control system becomes indispensable.
That's right, because the version control system enables transparent change tracking, which means you can always tell who changed what, when and why. And furthermore, you can archive specific project versions and recover individual development stages. And this way, no intermediate stages are lost unintentionally.
And if you're developing a project with several people, it helps enormously to coordinate the collaboration. For example, multiple developers can simultaneously work on different development branches quite efficiently.
And later, you can easily merge changes made to each development branch. This brings us to some very important aspects of Git. Unlike Subversion or other version control systems you might know, Git is not a Delta-based version control system.
This means it does not store information as a set of incremental changes between previous and current versions for each file. Instead, Git sees information like a series of snapshots of all files. Whenever you commit changes, Git takes an image of what your files look like and create a reference to this snapshot. This way, Git always stores the full content of every version, which makes it easy and fast to restore previous versions.
You may be wondering now if this needs a lot of space. Well, it does not. Git is very efficient here as it does not store duplicate content in case nothing has changed. And this is the reason why branching is so lightweight and extensively used in Git. It makes branching operations in Git almost instantaneous and hopping between branches just as fast.
Another major aspect of Git is that it is a distributed version control system. This means that you can work with Git completely locally without the need for any network connection. You have your own local Git repository on your machine, which also contains the entire history of a project.
And if you want to share changes with others, this typically happens via so-called remote repositories. Of course, the same goes if you want to get changes from others.
With all this in mind, let's now get to the probably most important thing to know in Git, a typical Git workflow.
First, you perform the necessary changes. This takes place in the so-called working tree or working directory. Your files are then in the state modified.
In the next step, you select the modified files you want to include in your next commit and move them to the staging area, which is also called index. The files are then in the state staged.
At last, you do a commit. This moves the staged files from the staging area to your local Git directory, which is also known as local repository.
Okay. We put you on the rack long enough now. We are now going to show you what the whole thing looks like in CODESYS.
As we already mentioned, CODESYS Git is seamlessly integrated in the CODESYS Development System. No ifs, no buts. From the menu, there are two ways to get a project under Git control. Number one is to clone an existing repository and start a new CODESYS project based on it.
To make such a clone, specify the source of the original repository as well as the place where the new Git repository is to be stored. You also need to determine where the new CODESYS project shall be saved. That's it. In no time, the project is under the control of Git.
If you already have a project and want to put it under Git control, that's even easier. Step 1, specify a location for the new Git repository. Step 2, no step 2. That's all, quick and easy.
And by the way, if you want to disconnect a project from Git, just select the corresponding entry in the main menu and choose whether you want to delete the corresponding local folder as well. Associated remote repositories remain unaffected.
Good point, Roland. And you can keep a project's Git connection by creating a project archive or synchronizing it to the CODESYS automation server. Okay, once a project is under Git control now, Git status and changing is the most important view. You can see what has been changed in your project and continue working from here. Overlay icons show how objects were changed.
In the bottom part, all modified objects of your CODESYS projects are listed. Select the object you want to include in your next commit and move them to the staging area.
And very important here, Git does not care about any inconsistencies in CODESYS, but we made sure CODESYS does. If you select an object that requires other objects to exist, these are automatically selected along with it, and you do not have to mess around with it.
This is a great feature, isn't it?
In order to commit the selected changes to your repository, mark them, hit the commit button, and enter your personal information as well as a commit message. It's really that simple.
And the cherry on top, to make this process even more convenient for you, we have implemented an additional function into CODESYS Git. It allows you to add changes to the index and commit them immediately with just one mouse click.
Okay, change of subject now. You want to develop a new feature in your project. As branching, remember, super lightweight in Git, you typically create a new branch for this. The beauty of it, your previous version remains unaffected. Create a new branch and check it out right away to work on it immediately.
You can check all your latest changes in detail by the project comparison view. In order to compare different versions of objects, just double-click on an object in the Stages and Staging view.
An even more comprehensive way to keep track of all past changes is the History view. It gives you a complete overview of the entire change history. You can select each individual commit and check all its details. Who made a change, who committed it, why something was changed, what is changed, and also the SHA-1 value, which is a unique identifier for each commit.
But now let's suppose we are done with all the changes and want to bring them back to the main branch. Super easy with CODESYS Git. Check out the main branch, select the branch you were working on and hit Merge.
All changes you made in the feature branch are now staged. By committing the changes, CODESYS Git automatically assigns a commit message and writes all changes to the repository.
Thanks to the graphical illustration in the history view, these changes are clearly and comprehensively traced.
Until now, you've been working completely locally and all alone. To work conveniently and efficiently with others, CODESYS Git offers the possibility to easily connect to remote repositories. These can be located on the internet or on a shared directory.
Just enter a name, a URL, and, if necessary, your credentials. That's all you have to do to connect to a remote repository. From here, you can create a tracking branch in the remote repository that corresponds with your local branch. By using the push command, you copy all commits of your local branch to the remote branch.
And once this information is available in the remote repository, your colleagues can simply pull it back to their corresponding local machine and commit the changes to their current branch, if the changes made it necessary.
Of course, there are also other options to work with the remote repositories. We cannot talk about all of them in this video, just as we cannot cover all the other useful features CODESYS Git offers you. Therefore, we recommend try CODESYS Git yourself and benefit directly from its extensive features.
Now, if you want to get CODESYS Git right away, go to the CODESYS store. Good to know, CODESYS Git is part of the CODESYS Professional Developer Edition. If you already have a license for this tool bundle, all the better for you. You can go ahead without further action and try CODESYS Git.
And don't worry if you do not have a license for the Professional Developer Edition so far. You can download your free demo version from the CODESYS store. So don't waste any time. Git it now.
See you next time.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.